Have you ever tried to make a song that sounds big and emotional like Bon Iver, but it kind of just ends up feeling flat? Well, what if I told you it's not about having this crazy equipment or a cabin in the woods? It's actually how you layer and mix everything. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get that big, haunting, emotional sound that Bon Iver has in 5 easy steps. And along the way, I'll show you how I mixed everything. Oh yeah, and I'll be doing this with equipment you probably already have in your bedroom studio. Step 1 is to double track your guitars. Sometimes people will record one guitar and just leave it in the center, but for a nice, spacious, wide song like this, you're going to want to double track them. This means playing the guitar once, and then playing it again, and then panning each take left and right. So instead of your guitar sounding like this, it'll sound like this. Now, actually, you'll notice I have 3 guitar tracks here. One pan to the left, one pan to the right, and one left in the middle. You don't have to do this, but for me, it felt like it added a nice little foundation to the guitars. And don't worry about being too clean. You don't really have to polish up your takes or be exactly on time because you're not making a pop song, you're making an emotional experience. Now, as for mixing the guitars, and really this entire project, it's going to follow 3 things. It's going to follow dynamics, tone, and color. So for these guitars, I needed them to be pretty dynamically solid, which means they're not really jumping in volume all the time. They're kind of just sitting here. So we apply a little bit of compression. Next, we go into the tone, which is just EQ. Here, I'm doing a little dip at 200 Hz and a boost at 16 kHz. So just cleaning up the body and adding some air. Oh yeah, and here's a quick tip. If you find that your guitars are slappy and clicky, you can throw RX Guitar Denoise on there. It's gonna clean up all the picky kind of clickiness. In fact, let's actually listen to what it's cleaning up. So just getting rid of that stuff. We don't want it. Lastly, for saturation, I didn't actually put any saturation on the guitars. I put it on the mix bus, which means it's affecting the guitars anyway. But along the way, you'll find that I've put some saturation across different layers. So speaking of different layers, let's get into step 2. A huge part of Bon Iver's sound is pedal steels and slides. Something that sounds like this. Having pedal steels that are kind of bending and moving up to notes and kind of creating this dissonance is a great way to add emotion. And you don't actually need a pedal steel or a slide guitar, you just need a MIDI controller, like this one. As for the instrument, I'm using Ink Audio's Ink Steel. It's not even that expensive and it sounds really good. Generally, the slides have some sort of distortion or overdrive on them with some delay and some reverb, which makes them really spacey and colorful. However, an alternative to getting the instrument, if you don't want to spend that much money, is to just get pedal steel samples. I got these ones from Splice. Now, I went pretty overboard. I've got a bunch of different pedal steels and a bunch of different slides with different tones and different amounts of saturation and different panning, but this is pretty overkill. You don't have to do that. Oh yeah, and one more thing. A great part to add is called a pedal note, which just stays on the root note of the song and kind of acts as this like nice little foundation. In this case, I used the lap steel bow preset from Spitfire Labs, which by the way is completely free to use, and it just sits and plays one note. But remember, we want to tell a story. We want it to be nice and dynamic. There's got to be an ebb and flow. It's got to build and drop. So what can we do to add some drama? Well, it's time for step 3. This absolutely isn't 100% needed in every single song in this style, but I think it's really fun and creative, and it's a big, fat sub bass. Now, a big fat sub bass feels kind of out of place, which is actually what we want. Because up until this part of the song, it's really all just acoustic instruments. So adding something pretty digital and surprising is nice for this big climax in the story. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a bass that you add, but something weird and digital is a great contrast. Generally, with big sub basses, there's 2 parts. There's a subby part, and there's a big, colorful, distorted part. For this patch, I went into Trillion and chose the Dr. Delightful patch. For big, grimy sounds, I find Decapitator is perfect. Because without Decapitator, it sounds like this. And with it, it sounds like this. really upfront and in your face. Next up is our smoother patch. It's the same patch actually, it's 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗠𝗘's 𝗕𝗘𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗘, but there's way less high end in it, and it's an octave up. So it's similar enough to blend with that big distorted bass we had earlier, but different enough to add a different texture. But with that big climatic bass, we should add some more instruments to fit it. And that's where the next step comes in, an orchestra. Now, don't rent out a theater, don't hire a bunch of session string players. You can use something like BBC Symphonic Orchestra, which is free, or my favorite, Musio. Musio's got this great catalog of pretty much everything you need: strings, brass, pianos, Nordic voices, so you can really get creative. So with that big old chorus that has that big thick bass in it, I added this string part. And because I love my orchestra, I didn't stop there. I added a French horn, which sounds so good. So let's add all those steps together and see how that sounds. Now, that sounds good, but it's not a full song yet because we need to add vocals. If you haven't figured it out already, this is a song I worked on for a client named Primal Panic, which, by the way, the song is out right now. And so back when we were working on it, I had him send over 2 sets of vocals. Now, a lot of songs have like one vocal straight down the middle, but this is not the vibe we're going for. We want nice, spacious, kind of almost like a crowd or like a chant going on. And so instead of having vocals like this, loosen me up, we had vocals like this. Loosen me up. But it still wasn't enough. I wanted more vocals. And it just so happened that the demo he sent over had vocals. They were very old vocals, but they sounded all warped and weird and very, very cool for the project. Because again, we don't necessarily want polished sounding stuff, we want authentic sounding stuff. So the warped demo vocals sounded like this. Which were perfect, so I added them as layers to the main vocal. Loosen me up. Now, there was quite a lot I did for the mix of these vocals, but generally, again, it was saturation, EQ, and compression. There's actually less compression than you'd think on these vocals because we want the vocals to be the most dynamic instrument in the song. Then I took an EQ and I boosted the clarity areas of vocals. These are areas that have the k and ts parts of them. So boosting those areas makes it a little easier to understand what is being said, especially because we're going to throw into some reverb and delay and make it all spacey. I then added a bunch of saturation. I used the Studer from UA and I used the Tascam 388 from IK Multimedia. It has a nice kind of breakup quality. And so with all those parts together, we get something like this. You get best of me. And there it is, coming together to create a beautifully big and dynamic and emotional Bon Iver style song. Thank you so much for watching. Check out Best of Me by Primal Panic. And if you want to work with me on your song, click the link in the description. See ya.